Hello and welcome back to In the Corner. I'm Cash, episode 41. Bit of a late night recording here. It's about 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, April 17th. Got a pretty good weekend of fights lined up. There's nothing huge this weekend. Probably the biggest fight of the weekend is Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron 2. Big rematch after their very odd outcome of their fight in Riyadh in October. So we're going to talk about what I think about that fight and what it looks like, how I think it'll go this time around, that card, and the rounds dispute, which is, of course, a big thing. It has now been officially said that it will be 10 rounds, which is what Ben Whittaker and Boxer wanted. Of course, they infamously sent Liam Cameron the contract for 12 rounds, and then they tried to go back on it and change it to 10, and he said, I signed for 12, I'm fighting 12, and wouldn't push down on it, which I thought was the right call. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about all the other stuff. We've got Dalton Smith returning this weekend. Gabriela Fundora is going to defend her undisputed titles. The third installment of the 2025 PFL World Tournament is tomorrow night. Got a BKFC card. We have the WBC Boxing Grand Prix going on. There's a lot of fun stuff. We're going to talk about all of it and some news. So, of course, we're going to go back to the Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron stuff. Listen, I was on the side of Liam Cameron. Of course, there's no reason for this to be a 12-round fight, but Boxer messed up, and, they should have to pay the price, and I think that they did, and they've got it. It's going to be 10 rounds now. Going into fight week, the fight was still not signed. It wasn't clear what was happening. Obviously, they had signed, but they hadn't signed a new contract. It's now official. They will be fighting for 10 rounds. And I'm telling you right now, Liam Cameron got an extra bag for that, which he deserves. I mean, it's very unprofessional for Boxer to somehow make a typo like that in a contract in such a big money fight and, to then try and change it. It's like, it's a little mistake, can we change the length of the fight? And they're like, no. And I mean, it was totally mishandled by Boxer. The promotion and build-up of this has been a 10-8 by Liam Cameron. I mean, he just said, I signed for 12, I'm going to fight 12. I'm not backing down unless you want to throw a few zeros on the end of the check. And I mean, I don't understand why. If I was Ben Whittaker and the pedigree that he has and as big a star as he is, I don't know why he didn't just say, all right, fine, let's go 12. And then that sells the fight so much more. We made a mistake. My team didn't want to do it. I believe in myself. That's how you do it. Because I'm telling you right now, Ben Whittaker's going to win this rematch. I've seen how this whole story plays out so many times. You have the rising star who gets put in there with a tough test, and they don't come out quite upright, and they don't lose. The same thing that happened with Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. I think Johnny Fisher's going to right his wrong, as do I think Ben Whittaker is going to with Liam Cameron. I think he had a really off night, and he didn't look his best. And I think that we're going to see the showboating back on Sunday, which we haven't seen. We didn't see that in the last fight, and I think that kind of hurt. It kind of got his rhythm thrown off, and I thought Liam Cameron had a great night. I think Liam Cameron's a good fighter, but I think that Ben Whittaker should be able to win this one this weekend. If he doesn't, then it's really crazy because he's getting a second shot. He's getting a shot to right his wrong if he does even worse. Because remember, it wasn't a loss last time. It was a draw. I know some people thought he lost, but it was a draw, and he's got the opportunity here to put all that to bed. Let's see if he can do it. So I'm very excited for that one. That's probably the biggest fight of the weekend. Ben Whittaker has the potential to be a huge star in British boxing and world boxing, and he's not too far away. He's only had, I think, 8 fights. He's already fighting in, 10, not 12-round fights. And, he's headlining a big arena. He wins this, he's into some pretty good fights, and, we could see him fighting for British titles, and even Joshua Buatsi said he's not looking past the winner of this. So, who knows? There's a lot of doors that open after Sunday. But yeah, I think it was a really big mistake on his part and Ben Shalom's part to not just take the 12 rounds and to make it so publicly that they don't have the confidence to go that distance and they're willing to pay more money to make sure it stays at 10, especially with all the bad media that Ben Whittaker's had since the, somewhat questionable injury and stuff. It was really not a smart move, but we know how quickly boxing fans' opinions change, and Ben Whittaker comes out Sunday, maybe even gets a stoppage, looks really good. All of that gets put to bed and nobody remembers it anymore. Anyways, moving on from that, co-main event, Frazier Clark returns against Ebenezer Tete, who just obviously fought Dillian White. Bit of a character, that one. He's 23-2, so not actually an awful record. His only losses do come to Daniel Dubois and Dillian White being stopped by both. So it's not like he's, had the worst guys. His losses are pretty high quality, but he's nothing special. Frazier Clark is pretty good, I think. Do I think that he's going to be a world champion? I don't know about that. But British champion, I totally see. That first Fabio Wardley fight, he impressed me very much. I thought it's too early for him in the pro game. Fabio Wardley is going to not make this competitive at all. and I was totally wrong. That was a draw. And going into the rematch, I thought Fraser Clark he's the one who has stuff to improve on. He's the one that lost a point. He's the one that got knocked down. If you take that away, that's an 8-4 fight for him, I think. Or, I don't know, but he wins that fight. And I thought that he was going to win the rematch, and I was totally wrong. So, we'll see what happens here. I think that Fraser Clark is going to deal with Tete quite easily. I don't know if he knocks him out necessarily early. I do think that he stops him. He's not the biggest puncher in the world. He's a big guy, but he's not necessarily like a huge monster puncher. I bet that he will stop him probably in the mid to late rounds. He could do it very early. I could totally see him coming out and taking him out in 1 or 2 rounds. It just depends on what kind of Fraser we're going to get on Sunday. But we do know that he is targeting the winner of the Jamie, TKV, and David Adelaide rematch. I think that's perfect for him. I think that's the exact realm he needs to be fighting in. No matter what, we've always got good names in the British heavyweight division when it comes to fighting for that title, and I think that Fraser Clark is the perfect guy to be set up against that winner, especially if it's Jamie TKV. They're both with boxer. So I'm really excited to see him come back, and just the idea that it took Ben Whittaker to come back 6 months from that weird thing, and Fraser Clark got a dent in his head, and he's coming back the same night. Pretty crazy. Lee Cutler, Sam Eggington is on the card. That's not a bad fight. Lee Cutler is pretty fun to watch. He had a great fight with Stephen McKenna at the end of last year, which he won by majority decision. Sam Eggington is not the best fighter in the world, but he's definitely experienced, and so that should be a decent scrap. Tyler Denny returns as well after his knockout defeat to Hamza Shiraz. He's in there with Elvis Ahorga, who is another fun character that gave Callum Simpson a couple of good rounds back in February. So I'm glad that they're keeping him around and giving him another opportunity. This is one that Tyler Denny should win. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't. I think that they kind of overstepped him with the Hamza Shiraz fight. I mean, yeah, he beat Felix Cash on a headbutt. Felix Cash is no Hamza Shiraz, and I think they learned that night. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you got some decent fights. You got a Midlands area title fight between Troy Coleman and Bradley Goldsmith. Elliot Whale returns. He's a decent prospect. And then Mark Jeffers is back in a 6-rounder, which I find very odd. I feel like he's on the verge of like a British title fight. I don't really know what he's doing in a 6-rounder. I don't understand that with British fighters, why they just take like 6-round fights when they can just stay active and fight real guys. I mean, I don't think that he has another fight coming up. I really don't get it. Why you wouldn't just, jump into the deep end, but whatever. Moving on from that, we've got a pretty good matchroom card as well. Real sleeper. It's in the Sheffield Cannon Medical Arena, so not even like something big. Obviously, the main arena was not available, and so that's why we're not getting a fight there this weekend. But Dalton Smith returns, and I'm not gonna lie, don't love this matchmaking for him. I understand why we're doing it, and it's because he's got a WBC mandatory title shot waiting, so they don't want to cost anything, but they also want to keep him active. But I mean, I don't know. It's just not great, especially his last fight where he just kind of ran that guy over. Didn't feel like that was a step at all. Granted, that was for the European title, so they kind of had to take that fight. But this next one against Mathieu Germain, I really don't understand why we're doing this kind of stuff besides just staying active. And so I expect another quick knockout here. I'm going to be honest. I'm really not expecting anything too troubling for him. And this is it's gonna happen, and I expect another early knockout. I think, could be good, could be a decent scrap, but I picked Dalton Smith by whatever he wants, really. And then you've got Josh Warrington returning in the co-main event. He's in with the same guy that Mick Conlon just beat in Con, and I think that is interesting. They're doing that same matchmaking because Eddie's made it clear he wants to make Warrington Conlon after this fight once Warrington wins, because we know Warrington's going to win this fight. And I mean, I don't hate it. I think Josh Warrington could have retired, but the fact that they're going to keep him around, but he's not necessarily going to go for world titles, I think is quite a decent idea. Asad Asif Khan is, again, like an okay test for him, but I don't really think that this is going to I don't think he's going to run into any big challenges here. I bet he'll probably get a decent stoppage win, and then we'll make that fight later this year. We know that Mick Conlon's going to fight for the European. Josh Warrington sits out for a bit, and then we do that. Keomin Aguiarco steps in against Ryan Kelly. It's a good fight. It really is. I think Aguiarco's going to win this one. Ryan Kelly's decent, but he was in there to fight Ishmael Davis, and I think it's a British title eliminator, and he was supposed to lose that fight. And, I mean, Aguirre is still an undefeated fighter, and yeah, I'd pick him against Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly's a guy that you get in really fun domestic fights, but I don't think he's anything special. He's 19-5-1. Aguirre's 16-0. I think he's coming in late, so that it could make a bit of a question mark. I think he's probably the best evenly matched fight on the card, but I'm still going to go Aguirre's way. Josh Padley returns against Marko Svitanovic, who is undefeated. I mean, Padley fought Shakur less than 2 months ago. He's already back, so I love that. I love how active that is. That's crazy. And, yeah, should be a good one. I'm excited for it. Yeah, that'll be 10 rounds. I think he's fighting for WBA title, and we're going to see how much of a push Matchroom really gives him. Are they trying to just get some good fights with him? They trying to go for another world title shot? They trying to do British? I'm not really sure, but we will see. And you got Giorgio Vizioli returning. He's in an 8-rounder with Kane Baker, who's a famous British journeyman. Decent fight there. Emmanuel Buttigieg is also on the card against Grant Dennis, a guy who's been on some top-tier shows. And then you've got Joe Howarth as well, who I'm not too familiar with. So, decent card there. Small, but good card. I mean, Dalton Smith, Josh Warrington, Josh Padley, and then that Ryan Kelly, Kaiomi, and Aguirre fight. It's a pretty decent card. So, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. And then in San Diego, California, we're going to have Gabriela Fundora returning. She's going to be defending her undisputed titles. I'm so excited, man. She's one of my favorite female fighters. I mean, we just saw in I think it was November when she won those undisputed titles. She's a beast, dude. She's 15-0 with 7 knockouts, which, yeah, it's about 50-50, but that's really high for women. Women, we don't see that, like, knockout rates that high. She's fighting for all the flyweight titles. She's defending them against Marilyn Badillo, who's also undefeated. She's 19-0. And, yeah, I think we're in for a good fight. I think Gabriela Fundora wins this. To be honest, once she does, probably just move up, conquer more titles, because I don't know how many big names there are in that division. I feel like she's already fought the other bigger names. So why don't you just try and rack up your legacy? I mean, she can totally move up. She's tall. I think she's like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". She's tall like her brother. She's got the frame to move up. Lanky. She's going to be the biggest gal in the weight class for a couple of weight classes. So I think after this one we can probably move up, but I'm really excited to see her defend those titles. You've got Charles Conwell versus Jorge Garcia Perez. I think this is a decent fight. I'm ready for Conwell to step up the levels and go into a potentially even a world title fight, or at least a big name match. And I think that he's knocking on the door of that. Garcia Perez is a decent fighter, man. He's good. And so I think this is a decent fight. I think it's one that is probably Conwell's toughest test, but I think it's one he should win. And once we get through this, bigger fights we come. And it's weird because I'm saying, like, oh man, we got to get Conwell better opponents. And they do. It's not as good as we want, but it's still a step up. So a step in the right direction. I just hope that after this one we get an even bigger step up. Joel Iriarte returns to that card, one of the best prospects in boxing. All of his wins come within like the first 2 rounds or something. Ton of fun to watch. Excited to see him come back. Tristan Kalkruth returns as well in a 10-round cruiserweight affair. Excited to see him back. Jorge Chavez is on this card. Dallas Kaliopoulos. So some good Golden Boy prospects. Joshua Edwards is making his pro debut. Golden Boy just signed him. He's a heavyweight. I think was he an Olympian? He's an amateur, a big amateur. I think he may have been from the Olympics. Interesting that Golden Boy is going to try and get into the heavyweight game. They really haven't had a heavyweight in a long time. You got Samuel Torres on the card and Ruslan Abdullayev, who's a very good amateur. Just made his pro debut. I'm looking at this. He's already in an 8-rounder, so they are giving him the big push. I believe he's from Uzbekistan. And those guys do move pretty quickly, but 8-rounder in your second fight is no joke, and he was very impressive in his pro debut, so I'm really excited to see that. The most interesting part of this card, Alexander Gvozdyk is on it. He won't be televised. All the other fights are going to be televised, at least on YouTube. He will not be. He'll be in an 8-round fight against Anthony Holloway, who's 9-7-3. Nobody's talking about it. It's so odd to me. Why is he on this card? Why is he not even being televised? I mean, it's just so freaking odd to me. Like, what is he doing? Why are we... I really don't get it. What's the point of this fight for him? I guess just to stay busy, but he's not even like getting on the prelims. I mean, that's pretty crazy to me. I don't get boxing sometimes. He's a former world champion. We'll see. But yeah, so that is that. Those are the bigger boxing events. Let's move over to PFL. And listen, this is the tournament. This is the card I've been most excited for a good bit. So we're going to have the middleweights and the lightweights, I think it is tomorrow night. And the main event, man, Impa Kasangane versus Fabian Edwards. I could be wrong, but I think this is PFL versus Bellator champions, no? Maybe I'm wrong in that, but it's a hell of a fight. Impa Kasangane is always in these PFL World Tournaments. He either wins the title or he gets really far. I'm excited to see this one. This is the fight I've been waiting for the most. This really could be the championship bout, so I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I got Impa winning, but who knows, man? Fabian Edwards is a very good fighter. I just can't wait to see that one. The winner of that fight will face the winner of Josh Silveira versus Mike Shipman, who are going to fight earlier on the card. That one should be decent. And then the other one that a lot of people are talking about is Sadibu Sai versus Dalton Rasta. That's being booked as potentially a fight of the night. And they will fight the winner of Aaron Jeffrey versus Murad Ramazanov. These PFL World Tournament fights has been a lot of fun this season. I'm really enjoying it. We're halfway through. We're going to get middleweights and lightweights this week. And then I could be wrong, but is next week? I think next week is heavyweight, and is it maybe light heavyweight? I think that's all that's left. I could be wrong in that, but I believe that that's all we're left with. So some big boys on that card. And then we'll also have the lightweight division on this card. It'll be the winners of Vinicius Senshi versus Brent Primus versus the winners of Clay Collard and Alfie Davis. So those are some pretty good names in this division. And then you've also got Gadzi Rabadana versus Mark Diakis and Mads Burnell versus J.J. Wilson, winners of those fights. So the middleweight division has got maybe some bigger names, or at least some bigger fights off the bat, but lightweight division's got a lot of potential to do some big stuff too. I cannot wait to see this card tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Moving over to Omaha, Nebraska, we've got the BKFC card in Omaha. I just said Omaha. But that one will be headlined by Dakota Cochrane versus Marcus Edwards. Again, I don't really know a lot about BKFC guys, except for like the champions, and even them, I don't know a lot of them. I just know that when BKFC's on, I'm turning on the TV. Co-main event is Bryce Henry versus Derek Finley. I know Henry's a decent prospect they've got, and Finley is having a little bit of a career resurgence we've seen. I'm really excited for this card. BKFC is always so much fun to watch. I think it's like a 10-fight card, not too long. These two are going to have going. I think they're actually going to trade off really well. I believe the PFL should be going from like 5 to 9. This one starts at 8, so can have a little bit of an overlap, and then we just move over to BKFC. Should be a fun night. Nothing too much to say other than I'm sure we're going to get some good stuff. And then other than that, we've got some smaller events that are going on in the world of combat sports. We did mention it, but we didn't mention it at the top of the program, but we're going to get another UFC Fight Pass show on Saturday. Interesting they're going on Saturday, but I guess that because there is no UFC card, that we're just going to get, we're just going to be getting, a Fight Pass card, which is all right. It's decent. Tom Loeffler shows are not bad. We get some good fights here and there. This one is headlined by Sadriddin Akhmadov versus Elias Espadas. Akhmedov is 15-0 with 13 knockouts, big puncher, super welterweight contender, I guess you could say. Espadas is 23-6. Not expecting a super crazy fight here. It's one that I expect Akhmedov to win. And then you've got some decent fighters on the undercard. I don't think anybody's in a fight above 8 rounds. Co-main event is Umar Dzambekov versus Sonny McEwen, which is 10-0 versus 11-1, so not a bad matchup. And then you've got 6 other fights on the undercard, which are all like 4 and 6 rounders. So a bit of a prospect card, not their biggest one, but next card in May, I think that they're going to have Sergey Boachuk, Mizuko Hirota, who is a super flyweight champion, I believe, and Omar Conde Trinidad, the featherweight contender, all on the same bill. So that should be a lot of fun. That should be a great card. And then Callum Walsh and Kane Sandoval should share a card in June. So they've got some good fights coming up. I've been enjoying their shows this year, and I'm looking forward to this one. In Orlando, and I'm just mentioning this because I am considering watching it. I don't know if I will be watching it, and that way, I probably won't talk about it too much on this episode or the next, but Kevin Haler-Brown is going to be returning on Friday evening in Orlando out of the Cree Royale, and, we're going to see what happens there. I'm trying to find I can't really find his box rec right now. Oh, wait, no, here it is. 6-0. Oh, wow, he's only had that little fights. I didn't realize that. I mean, he jumped right into the pro game, literally a 10-rounder in his second fight. I just mean those Cuban amateurs, they just get right to it. He's in with Asturi Suero, who's 14-2. Some other decent fighters on the card. Lanier the Fear Pero is on here. Or actually, no, not the Fear. That's Danier Pero, who we talked about last episode, signing with Ring Magazine. But, this is a Box Lab X Matchroom prospect. So kind of interested in that. He's a huge puncher. Henry Cedeño's on this card. Gergen Hanesian is on this card against Dejuan Calloway, who's the guy who just beat why am I blanking on it? Thomas Cardi. No Cardi, no party in that weird incident in New York City last month. So we're going to see about that. Pitufo Diaz on this card as well. Abel Gonzalez. So if you've seen some of these Box Lab and Matchroom shows like Crib Royale and the MVP prospects, you'll recognize some of these names. They've got an okay stable there. So I do kind of want to tune into this fight on DAZN. Looking forward to it. Speaking of DAZN, they've been doing the WBC Boxing Grand Prix. It started today. I didn't watch it. It was the featherweights. I did hear it was actually decent. And the reason why I didn't watch it is that there were 16 fights today. There's 16 fights tomorrow, 16 on Saturday, and 16 on Sunday. It's, 64 fights in total, 128 fighters, which I love how big the tournament is, but it's just too much for somebody to watch in like one sitting when you've got all these other big shows going on. And I really do like the concept, and I'm excited to see, maybe the later rounds of the tournament, but it's just too much to watch. I did hear it was quite good. And, the best part of this is you're matching up young fighters, and they're hungry. They don't want to lose, so they go for it. Apparently, there were some very competitive fights. The scoring's a little bit weird, I heard, where they bring in like a more advanced scoring where somebody scores based on how clearly they won the round, whether it's like, oh, they just edged it, or yeah, somewhat, or then they decisively won it. And then that way, if you do get a draw, then you go to there, you have open scoring after the second and fourth rounds. I think there's only 6 rounds fights. I did just learn today the winner of each tournament will become mandatory for the WBC silver title, which at first I was like, aren't these prospects? It's pretty early, but they're going to have 5 fights this year. So, and they're going to be tested a lot. So those guys, whoever emerges, are going to be very, very top fighters. And I'm definitely excited to check out this tournament more later on. I may go back and watch some of the highlights. We'll see. But I heard it was quite good. Production was iffy, but some decent fights. So they do way more of fights this weekend, and it's a really cool concept. It's just I wish they would have maybe just spaced it out a little bit, not done them all on the one weekend where you have 64 fights in addition to the other stuff. That's all we've got about the fights coming up this weekend. Let's now move into some news, and we've got some decent stuff to talk about. So Dan Rafael reported that Frank Sanchez and Filip Hrgović have been ordered for an eliminator for the IBF heavyweight title, and I actually responded to this, and then he responded to me, which was pretty cool, though he was kind of saying what I was saying was stupid in a way. Essentially, I was just saying that I think that I don't see why Frank Sanchez should be getting another world title opportunity. Filip Hrgović even, I'm not sure, but he's okay to be in an eliminator because he had a okay loss to Daniel Dubois in a world title fight, good win against Joe Joyce. He's allowed to do an eliminator to get back there. Frank Sanchez got beat up by Ajit Kabayel. That was really the biggest fight of his career. And then I think he had like an 8-rounder since then, and that's it. And so I'm just like, hold on, how does he get a world title elimination fight? Especially when Martin McCauley doesn't get it. And I understand he got knocked out. And that was what Dan Rafael was saying. It's like he got knocked out clearly in the rules. He should have lost that position. I agree. In terms of the rules, he shouldn't have had that position. But I'll say this. If Filip Hrgović beats Frank Sanchez on points and Martin McCauley knocks Efe Ajagba out, who do you want to see fight Daniel Dubois? I'll tell you what, it's Martin McCauley. I know he got knocked out by Joseph Parker, a fight he took on 2 days' notice. And I know that Filip Hrgović has already fought Daniel Dubois and lost to him. I want to see Dubois McCauley so bad. It's whatever. We also know that Dubois and Usyk are close to announcing their rematch for Wembley. And then we also know that the IBF is about to order Dubois versus Derek Chisora, another fight that nobody wants to see. I'm just saying, dude, that if you look at the rankings, I mean, it's just so silly. And I saw like someone would post like the WBA top 10 heavyweight division, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even know if Anthony Joshua was ranked in the top 10 with the WBA, but guys like, Murat Gassiev were, and it's just like, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing? Like, I don't know what's going on with these sanctioning bodies. I feel like every time you look at the rankings, it's like, okay, yeah, these guys make sense, but why are they in the top 10? It really is not hard. I feel like everybody should have the same top 10. And I don't know. It just frustrates me. But I don't mind the fight. I don't hate it. I think it's one that Filip Hrgović likely wins. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really like Frank Sanchez being given this opportunity already. I feel like he should have to earn that world title talks more again. Okay, Bam Rodriguez versus Fumalele Kafu is being targeted for July 19th in Dallas. Yeah, we're hearing that Matchroom's going to announce a lot of shows this weekend. We know that the Galalia Fai card is being announced on Saturday. We know that's going to happen. In fact, actually on the broadcast, in between the before the bell and the main card, they have a specially slated, it says like special announcement. So I assume that was just going to be this. It may be more. Maybe they're going to announce Hitchens Cambosos. I heard they may have another show in the U.S. On May 24th. We could be getting they may say then the Sugar Nunes fight, even though that's already been announced. Maybe another show for July. So we're going to see what they do announce. But I do think this is next. They said Bam is going to have a unification next this summer. And, Fernando Martinez is fighting Kazuto Ioka. The IBF is, they're doing their rematch there to figure out who the winner is to win that vacant belt. So it's going to have to be Kafu, and it's a fight that is good, I think, and it's one that Bam, and it'll be a test for him, but not really. I think he'll win that one pretty well. Chris Eubank Sr. has called Jr. a disgrace. This was interesting. He was actually very emotional talking about it. And, he said he'll never corner him again. And it's so heartbreaking to see because they're both such public figures. And just to see their relationship so publicly and, it is not a good one. And the way they talk about each other to the media. And even Junior, he doesn't really talk too negatively about his dad. But Senior just rips his son apart to the media. He doesn't talk to him, but he rips him apart to the media. And it's just so sad to see, they really should not be talking about this on TV. They should be talking about it with each other. So it's just sad to see, and I do hope that they can patch things up. And it sucks that Senior and Junior are not close, especially in this build-up to this fight, and how Senior's trying to, almost hurt the event and say it's BS, it's a circus fight. He should be fighting Harlem, his nephew that he likes more. It's just crazy. And you know what? Speaking of Chris Eubank Jr., he just paid for. He stood on his promise, and he paid 50,000 pounds to the fighters of the original undercard. In total, I think it was 3,571 pounds each. So, a good bit of quid there, as they say. These are fighters, so most of them, this is, nothing crazy, but it's good money, so it's cool they stood on his promise. Harlem Eubank was included there. We're gonna jump off that to another Harlem Eubank thing. Jack Catterall said he's open to the Harlem Eubank fight. I don't know if I missed this, but is Jack Catterall moving up to 147? Because we're hearing about a Josh Taylor fight. We're hearing about a Harlem Eubank fight. And these guys are at 147 now. They were at 140, but they're now at welterweight. Neither fight I mind. I'd much rather the Josh Taylor trilogy, even though, you could say Jack Catterall's 2 up. And I really do feel like that story's over. That chapter's been closed. But I would not be mad at all if we saw it a third time. The Harlem Eubank fight is one that I'm okay with. But it does feel like a bit of a step down for Catterall. People forget that fight against Barboza was very close, extremely close. You could have given Catterall that decision. I don't think he deserved it, but you could have given it to him. And, to step down to Harlem Eubank, who is fine. He's good. He's British level. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense to do that fight. But, we're going to see what happens. It's interesting that he's open to that fight. And, hey, it's a decent money fight. And it's one that Catterall wins, gets a win back under his belt. I think that there's bigger fish to fry. Ilya Topuria will not fight in the UFC until it's Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. I hate this so much. I really do. Because I feel like Ilya is such a superstar. He cannot sit out and try and make these demands because he's had great stuff with the Volk and the Max wins. And he feels on top of the world, as he should. But he feels like he is the UFC's top priority. And let me tell you right now, you are not. You are not that guy. You are one of the guys. You're one of their biggest stars right now, and you have the potential to make one of the biggest fights. But, dude, stay active. The worst thing you can do is sit around and wait for that fight. Because when that fight comes and Islam stayed active and he's already the favorite, he's going to whoop you. So you need to lock in. If you have to fight Charles Oliveira, which I know he doesn't want to because that's a huge risk, but if he beats Charles Oliveira and if he beats him and if he finishes him, oh my goodness, dude, then you're unstoppable. And then you have to make the Islam Makhachev fight. Then he wants to defend against Paddy Pimblett. Fantastic fight to make down the line. I think he's got such a bright future ahead of him, and I really don't want to see him sit on the sidelines waiting and hoping for a super fight to happen. We'll see. Jake Paul, he's meant to make his big announcement tomorrow for his next fight, and, I just saw Mike Coppinger just reported it. It's going to be Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and we know what that's going to be for. It is going to end up being for the WBA title fight, and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's weird, I do like this. I like the angle they're going with here, And while it hasn't been confirmed that will be for the WBA title, it's going to be. We know this fight has been in the pipeline for a while. We don't know where or when it is, but we're just hearing that is what's next. That is going to be announced tomorrow, so we'll find out all the details there. I bet it's on Netflix, or maybe it's on DAZN pay-per-view. Who knows, but we'll talk about that more in the next episode once it's officially announced. I was going to talk about this later, but I didn't realize they've already had the announcement. They just announced it, seeing it right now, that Junto Nakatani and Ryosuke Nishia are going to unify June 8th in Tokyo. Thank God, man. Oh, this is so awesome. Also, it's on a Sunday. That's fantastic. Early morning fight on a weekend. Couldn't ask for anything better. I'm so happy that they're unifying. It seemed like this was going to be next, and then I saw that Nishida was on the IBF website. Is having another fight at the end of May, and I was like, no, make the unification. So glad they did. These guys are number 1 and 2 at bantamweight, likely. I think that they are rated number 1 and 2 by the Ring Magazine, so that bet will also be on the line. And dude, it's a huge fight. It's a brilliant fight, and this is the best fight for Nakatani to make while he's waiting for Inoue. And, I mean, win this, we could see Inoue next year. We really could. We could see Inoue next. I bet Nakatani fights another time at the end of the year. I love that that's another unification. I doubt it will be. We'll see. But, yeah, man, this is awesome. And I'm really, really happy that this is what we're going with. And, yeah, another fight that was announced for Saturday, June 7th, is Keyshawn Davis, Edwin De Los Santos. We knew this was happening, but it's nice it's been announced June 7th at the Norfolk Scope Arena. Looking forward to that. Abdullah Mason will return in the co-main event against Jeremiah Nakathila, a guy who's been in there with guys like Raymond Murataya and Shakur Stevenson. So decent opponent there. They're slowly stepping Abdullah up, and I really hate that the Giovanni Cabrera fight didn't happen because that was a big step up. And after this, I want to see a big one. He's in co-main now, so he's getting up there. And, I'm really excited. Apparently, they offered Floyd Schofield the fight, or maybe it was offered by Ring Magazine, as we'll talk about in a second. But Schofield wanted $2.5 million. That's what his dad said, in a video, which I just think is pretty funny. It's like, you guys are kind of accepting that you'll lose that fight. So, I mean, hey, you know what? At least go out, get in a bag. But I wouldn't expect that fight to happen. I'd love it to, but Abdullah wins that. But speaking of both Keyshawn and Abdullah Mason, they have both become ambassadors with Ring Magazine. We talked yesterday or a few episodes ago about Bruce Carrington and Daniel Pero being those guys, the first two. It has now been these two as well have been added, some big American superstars. And I'm really excited. I mean, we saw Turkey talk about Abdullah Mason saying like, oh yeah, he's excited to see him. And this is why, if Turkey's talking about you, he wants you on his team. And these guys have both been recruited. We know in this card we're going to get the rest of DB3. So I think it's Kelvin and Keon Davis will both be returning, as will Troy Isley. Hopefully he's in a good fight because he's also on the brink of a world title. Really fun division. That one is middleweight. And we're just going to jump right into it, man. Middleweight division. Janibek Alimkhanoglu and Carlos Adames are reportedly beginning talks. So this is nowhere near close to happening. And there's a bit of an issue because there's not a lot of money in this fight, and that's why we don't get a lot of unifications in divisions like middleweight because they're just not superstars, and so there isn't the money to pour into unifications. This is a fantastic fight. It is number 1 and 2 in the division. We need to see it. I want to see Janibek in a big fight. I want to see Adames get a big fight after the Hamza Shiraz performance, and this is it. And yeah, I really hope that they can get this one through. We know that Top Rank and PBC are going to be working closely together now, and this is the perfect fight to do on a card. I love it. So Amir Khan, he sued Boxer apparently recently, and then this story came out that he was moving forward with it, and then he quickly responded to that tweet and said it's been resolved. I think it was something over. He said some of his political views on the Palestine and Israel stuff, which I won't get into, but Sky Sports I think fired him along with Boxer. They fired him from doing media work on the shows. And so he sued them for that. I think he has good basis to because he's just speaking his own free opinion. And, he's just on his own platform. It's not like he's doing it on Sky Sports. And Sky Sports is saying, no, we don't want any of the political stuff. We don't agree with you. We're going to drop you. I don't think that's right. I think he was at a right basis to sue. And he says looking forward to working together again. We'll see if he's back on the broadcast, but I doubt it. I thought that was interesting. I wanted to see some drama, but whatever. We're going to move over to some Turkey conversations. So Shakur is now back on board with His Excellency. Yeah, we weren't sure if this was going to what was going on there, but Shakur said made some comments about Turkey or something like that, and Turkey didn't like it, so he said, all right, told Eddie Hearn he's not fighting on my shows anymore. Shakur put out essentially an apology and said, we've resolved it. It was a misunderstanding. I said some bad things. Whatever, move on. Looking forward to working together again. So Shakur has now made amends, and he's apologized, and I'm glad because I don't want Turkey to, anytime anybody says anything bad, just completely ban them for life from doing business with him, because Shakur is one of the biggest stars in American boxing, and you got to keep him around. So I'm glad that they could let bygones be bygones. These pay-per-view prices, man, very interesting. So in the U.S., Eubank versus Ben is $25. Not bad at all. I honestly could hope it would be free because it's like an all-British card, or even $20, but I'm not going to complain at $25. It's much better than it would have been a year ago. As for the Ring Magazine stuff in the U.S., so we know we're going to have the Times Square card and the Canelo Skull card back-to-back days, which it's going to be a fantastic weekend in a way on Sunday as well. And this is only a week after Eubank Ben. Week after that, we're going to have UFC 310, so it's going to be a crazy week, or 315, on May 10th. It's going to be an awesome couple of weeks coming up. But, so essentially both of these pay-per-views are $60 on their own. Bundled together, it's $90, so it does make more sense to get the bundle, and I'm going to get the bundle, of course, but, these are still a little bit steep. I know that the U.S. market is a little bit more expensive, and Canelo and Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, these are big names. You gotta make money. You gotta do the pay-per-view, and I get that. And I like that they're doing this thing, but especially when you look at it and you say, well, Canelo versus Berlanga was $90, and you can get $90 for Canelo plus the Times Square card and a better undercard on Canelo maybe. So, I'm not going to hate on it. I do think that we're still getting not the worst deal in the world here. UFC, you pay $70, $80 for a pay-per-view, and here you're getting $90 for two. So it's whatever, but I would much rather prefer it if both these were like $40. But that's just my 2 cents. Anyways, moving on down the line, I, the Tiger, have a press conference scheduled for April 23rd, which is next Wednesday, I believe, where they're going to announce Christian and Billy's next fight. I don't know who that's going to be. I think it's probably going to be Luka Plantic for the WBC interim 168 title. Also on that card, I'm sure we're going to get Osleis Iglesias versus Kevin Saggio. If they can get that over the line, that'll be for the IBF interim or IBF final eliminator. I'm not sure. Big fights coming up at 168 for I, the Tiger. They do those two. It'll easily do the Videotron Center, and I'm just excited to see Billy get back in the ring because it's been far too long. Okay, going back to Turkey, Reito Sutsumi will be on the Times Square card. So it was recently announced a few weeks ago that he was going to be turning pro. Big prospect out of Japan. He's now going pro, and I'm excited to see what he does in that realm. And Turkey said, he was like, I'm excited to see his future. And, they've got him on a big show here. So it is interesting that Turkey is starting to take some, world prospects and kind of build them up on his own shows. We've got the Saudi guys. Marco Verde is making his pro debut with Turkey as well that same weekend. I'm excited that they threw on another extra 6-round fight onto the 3-fight card that was the Times Square one. I'm really looking forward to that. It should be a really fun event. Moving on over to something, I'll do it quickly because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but Misfits Boxing have officially announced their next card. This is for X Series 21 in Derby, so they've kind of combined their KSI undercard and what was it meant to be the original card. So it's now going to be headlined by Darren Till, Darren Stewart, with Idris Virgo, Ty Mitchell in the co-main event. So 2 pretty good fights for Misfits to make. Chase Tamor versus Tank Tolman, who I've heard a little bit about for the heavyweight title. That's a pretty okay fight. I would have preferred the Roman Fury one, but he's now going to fight in Budapest randomly. Wally Sharks Fox the G is good. Wakey Wines versus Modine is going to be hilarious. Joey Knight's on there. Amir Anderson and Dylan Price, some pretty good pro fighters. And then you have the heavyweight survivor tag, which is going to be Tempo Arch versus Big Tobes versus Godson versus Curtis Pritchard. It's going to be a lot of fun. This card actually sounds pretty decent. This will be May 16th in Derby, England, like I mentioned. I'm excited for it. I'm a big Misfits guy, and looks like they're putting together some cool stuff. Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca was officially announced for May 14th. It'll be a world title eliminator. I didn't hear what sanctioning body it is. I'm guessing it's IBF or WBO because he's ranked 1 with both of them. I think that this is whatever. It's another fight that Sam Goodman will win, and then they'll try and get the in-away fight set up for him. I do feel bad because he did get injured and kind of got the opportunity taken away, but he put him through the ringer and delayed the event once and then postponed it and then pulled out, and it's just a nightmare. But they've also got the return of another big name in Australia, excuse me. And that will be, Harry Garside, who's apparently been out of the ring for 3 years. He's only 3-0 in the pro game, and he's an Olympian, but didn't fight for 3 years. Now he's going to try and get a world title. I don't really get it, but whatever. I'm hoping that he'll have a good career, and yeah, I'm not really too familiar with him. And then last thing we'll talk about, Mio Yoshida has been named mandatory for Sharetta Metcalf with the IBF. This is interesting. They've already fought twice, both fights very close. Metcalf won both of them, but he was very close and competitive and contestable. Metcalf is going to fight Dina Thorsland for the unified titles on the big July 11th Taylor Serrano 3 undercard. And so I guess that Mio Yoshida will fight the winner of that. I watched their second fight, and I did think that Mio Yoshida won that one. So I'm curious to see what the demand is for a trilogy with them. Haven't been like the best fights ever, but we'll see. I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens on July 11th because, dude, that card's gonna be sick. And then lastly, I did actually check. This is from Brunch Boxing. We've got some other stuff. Co-main event for Junto Nakatani is going to be Tenshin Nasukawa versus Victor Santianto, another great opponent for him. Tenshin Nasukawa, man, he is right there. He's ready for that title shot. He's getting very close. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. And honestly, after this one, I kind of thought it could be next with Yoshiki Takei. We know that Takei does have a fight coming up in May, I think it is. And so after that, dude, it's going to have to be Yoshiki Takei versus Tenshin Nasukawa, and that'll be a huge fight for the WBO Bantamweight World title. Tenshin gets past this one, huge fight ahead of him. One of the best fighters, one of the best prospects and stories in the sport right now. Former kickboxing world champion, I think, and look at him now. So it's crazy. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back on Sunday, probably in the later part of the day after the Ben Whittaker card. I'm really looking forward to that. Got Dalton Smith, Gabriela Fundora, PFL, BKFC, the Grand Prix. It's going to be an awesome weekend. And then, you know what? After this weekend, which is still got some good action, the next 3, 4, 5 weekends are going to be nuts. So strap in. It's going to be a good one. Thank you so much for listening, and peace out.